It's time now for County-Wide, a presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. You'll hear about the interesting issues and happenings that affect all our lives. Here's today's County-Wide.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Brad Miller. It is County-Wide, and we're happy to welcome into our studio Missy Sikora with the Yavapai Family Advocacy Center. And we say good day to you, and thank you for coming to visit us in studio here today.
Good morning, Brad. Thank you for having me.
Let me just start with the basic questions. The Yavapai Family Advocacy Center has been around, YFAC, has been around for a little while, and talk to me a bit about what the organization is and what you do.
Sure, absolutely. The Yavapai Family Advocacy Center has been around since 2000. October 2nd was our 22nd anniversary. And what we do is we provide services to victims of interpersonal crime. So those are things like domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, human trafficking, stalking, elder abuse. Those people can come to our center either on their own if they're an adult or are brought to our center by all of our local law enforcement agencies.
Right.
And
so
we provide support and services. Largely
referral through courts and through police and things like that is how you're going to make first contact.
We actually have about 55 to 60% of our clients come in that way through a government agency, almost always police.
Right.
We have about 40 to 45% of our people, though, that walk in and ask for help on their own, and they don't want police involvement.
Really?
Yes.
I'm surprised that number is so high. As we've heard for so long, we just culturally, that can be... I think when we think about Yavapai Family Advocacy Center, most commonly we're going to think about a domestic relationship wherein the woman is the victim, if you will, perhaps with children involved. You described up front there can be elder abuse and a lot of different things, and we're grateful that you cover all of those. But just for example's sake, let me use that. A lot of times we hear that it's very, very difficult for typically a woman to do what you just described, reach out on their own, especially if they're living with someone upon whom they're financially dependent. So that's why I'm kind of surprised there are that many folks. Is that because educationally we've started to learn better and that there are programs like yours?
I think it's that. I think definitely the culture in our country has kind of moved to be more open to having discussions around those things.
Thankfully.
We've definitely kind of shifted, and particularly here in Yavapai County and in Arizona, to provide more training and education to all of our law enforcement and people around trauma-informed care, and not only catching the bad guy, but taking care of the victim throughout the process, which is critical. But we also have people that reach out to us. And maybe what they're going through isn't going on right now. Maybe it's historic, but it is still somehow having an impact on their life. And they've heard or been told that we can help, that there's ways that we can help them kind of work through that stuff.
Okay.
But you're right. A victim of domestic violence will usually attempt to leave 7 to 10 times before they can actually leave and stay away.
Wow. So many people who've never been touched by this awfulness say, why? Why can't she just walk out? Can you illustrate some of those reasons why it is so common for someone to stay in an abusive relationship for a long time?
Absolutely. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, you named a few of them. Financially, they feel dependent. But more often than not, what's created that situation of them not being able to leave is a lot of conditioning and emotional abuse throughout that relationship. And there's something called the power and control wheel that really demonstrates where an abuser will kind of be smothering and over-loving and doting on a person, and then the cycle kind of shifts and things become very controlling and mean, and then belittling and degrading. And so really what it does is it breaks down a person's strength and their ability to value themselves. And so they really start to believe what they're being told, that no one else would ever want them, that they can't survive without the abuser, that if they leave, their family will hate them, everyone will hate them, and everyone will know that it was their fault. And so it's this kind of psychological conditioning that happens.
Until you experience it yourself or through family or whatever it is, it's hard to kind of I think we all want to push away that there can be such kind of psychological manipulation and things like that at play. It's the darkest side of humanity, and you deal with that on a daily basis. So let's say that you mentioned process. Let's say that here again, for sake of a demonstration, our victim has come to you, has done that very difficult move, has reached out to you, either personally walked in or called. Then what typically happens?
They will immediately get connected with an advocate. So I say immediately. Our center is typically open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, but we do have 24/7 services for emergency things for law enforcement. But if they call on the weekend, leave a message, somebody's going to call them back Monday morning immediately. Okay. Before 9 o'clock. And that advocate is just going to meet with them and kind of see where they're at, what their needs are, and really kind of break the process down for them. Are they safe right now? Are they still in that relationship? Do they need to leave? Yeah. If they want to leave, they're going to help them develop a safety plan to do that in a way that keeps them safe and possibly their children safe. The next step is, where are they going to go? What do you need in the next 72 hours, in the next 7 days? Beyond that, it's about how to kind of help them take themselves back. Right? They need to take ownership of their own life back, and that's a difficult process. So the advocates will work with them to file orders of protection, to go to court and make sure that person can't come near them, but also doing domestic violence education about that cycle and kind of letting them know they're not alone and what was happening to them was not right. And then we run support groups, and we have therapists that we actually pay. So that therapist is going to do trauma therapy with that victim. And really, it's a very specific kind of therapy. If a person has gone through abuse or neglect, that needs to be dealt with in that specific situation. And kind of really what a person has to do is, you're never going to forget it, but you need to kind of work with a therapist to process it and put it at a place in your head that it's not impacting your sleep and your eating and your social interactions and whether or not you can work and whether or not it's causing you to drink, all those things. Right. So you've got to be able to kind of compartmentalize it and still live a happy, healthy life.
Yeah. Just listening to you kind of describe that, it almost sounds like almost sounds like an emergency room. A medical emergency room, in a sense, in what you're dealing with. There's almost a triage to what you described. We have to find out certain things first. There's going to be prioritization of the needs that need to be met most quickly to first remove the person from whatever the situation may be causing the harm. Is that a fair kind of analogy?
It is. And the thing that's most difficult for us that do it is everything is victim-led and victim-driven, right? So we can get them in there, and we can feel that they're probably in pretty serious danger. My staff are trained to do a lethality assessment with them, which is going to kind of go through 15 questions and determine whether or not they're in a domestic violence relationship that is more serious than others, that could result in severe harm or something else. But if they turn around after your 3-hour meeting or 1-hour meeting or whatever and say, forget it, I don't want to do this, I want to go home, all we can say is, you know what, you need to make the choices that are best for you, but we're here. Yeah. We'll be here tomorrow. If you want to come back, we'll be here in a year. Yeah. Would you like me to call you in a week and check in on you? That kind of thing. So, it's just sometimes we're number 4 on that list of 7 to 10 tries of them leaving. They may come back for the rest of the tries, but if they're truly determined and they want to leave, then we're there with everything that they will need to support them through that process.
That has to be unbelievably frustrating for, I want to say caseworker, I'm not sure if that's the right thing, but the individual in the conference or in the meeting, or there's several people on your staff that are part of that. Yet, in a sense, your hands are very much tied. There's not much you can do legally, or if anything.
Well, there's not. And the thing, if a person is an adult, it is their choice. Now, if they're telling us about a dangerous situation and there's children involved, we're also mandated reporters. So we're going to upfront let them know that, and that we may need to make a report. But, but I put my staff through a lot of training. I put myself through a lot of training. We do a lot of work ourselves to remember and understand that this can't be successful unless it's the person's choice, and we need to remember that. And we all have our own paths to walk, and we cannot I don't know what's best for another person to do, even though I have 30 some years of experience working with people who have had trauma. I still don't know what's best for them, right? I mean, I need to let them make that decision.
The effectiveness of whatever treatment is put for them, if they're commanded or compelled from things outside of themselves, it's just not going to take.
Right, and research shows that that it is most successful when they have buy-in and when they're doing it, right? That is when it is the most successful program for them. And it's not done through threats or coercion, like you need to do what I tell you, or I'm going to take your children away, or those kinds of things. I mean, we are here to support them wholly in what they want to do.
And we are very grateful that you are there. We'll continue our conversation with Missy Sikora, Yavapai Family Advocacy Center, and we should obviously say that if you or a family member, a loved one, a coworker, you might put this information into their ear and begin that process that Missy Sikora is providing for us today. We'll take a short break, and Countywide is back right after this.
Life changes, then it changes again. Predicting the unexpected in life is impossible. That's why it's called unexpected. So when it comes to financial goals, our philosophy is don't predict, prepare. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Matthias Sandoval. A job loss, change in health, or a loss of a loved one can have a big impact on your family's financial security. Let's work together to help make sure you're equipped for life's unexpected events. Call our office to schedule a face-to-face appointment.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Verde Solaire, your hometown heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in the Verde Valley for 38 years, and your trusted North Central Arizona Goodman dealer. Goodman is a name you can trust, designed, engineered, and built in the USA. Verde Solaire offers free in-home estimates on systems that are quiet and affordable. Verde Solaire is locally owned since 1983 and available for all your heating, air conditioning, and plumbing needs. Call 928-567-5315. Visit them online at verdesolaire.com. Better, cleaner, faster.
Taxes.
It's that time again. This is Lewis with Rice Accounting Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. We don't sell cars, we don't do hair or wait tables. We do taxes. At Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, we talk taxes and we prepare taxes. Open year-round for tax filings. Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, located throughout northern Arizona. For over 20 years, our local preparers have helped neighbors pay their fair share and no more.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service in the Tri-Cities at 772-7872. That's 772-7872.
We welcome you back to the program, Missy Sikora with the Yavapai Family Advocacy Center, and they do very important work. And at the end of the program, we will absolutely give you some phone numbers and websites and things like that, so you or whomever, a loved one, a friend, can reach out if and when they need to. This is one of the pieces of information that you might tuck away in a wallet or just kind of tap it into your phone and leave it there if you don't need it today, but may, or if someone you know or care about may need such information. Speaking of that, Missy, I know holiday time can really bring up some strong emotions, families, extended families, and things like that. And as we sit here this week on the doorstep of the big holidays, is there an uptick? I mean, gosh, is your work seasonal in that sense?
Well, gosh, our work is just slammed in general. I'll tell you, Brad. I mean, last year we gave services to over 1,300 victims for 2021 from the whole county. But yes, the holidays definitely kind of just add to that anxiety and stress level for everyone, right. And families that where finances are really critical, right? But they skip bills to give their kids a good holiday. But then the fallout or aftermath of that is parents kind of losing it, and their way to cope with stress and anxiety is to, drink or possibly use drugs or become very angry and very vengeful.
Financial stress drives an awful lot of this, doesn't it?
It sure does.
At the root.
And emotional stress. I mean, I mentioned earlier that, isolation is a big component of domestic violence, and that conditioning that abuser does to the victim, saying, everybody believes me, nobody believes you, you're going to lose your family. If you think about it, that is kind of validated for victim because that's happened. And what's happened, and I worked with a work group of family members of DV victims. What happens is a mom doesn't want to watch her 20, 30, 40-year-old daughter be abused
Right.
and treated badly, right? So parents, sisters, aunts, uncles, friends, they distance themselves, not because they think that the victim's a bad person, but because they just can't be there to watch it anymore. They've tried to help and it didn't work.
Right.
So those holidays also create that additional stress of you have no other resources. You have no natural resources to reach out to
Right.
when things are starting to bad and you see the signs happening. So you're stuck there with him. You're stuck with the abuser. And things just become incessantly worse.
Yeah. Abandonment becomes a piece of it, or it just becomes this just kind of a toxic stew, and it can just boil over until it gets to a point. Speaking about that and kind of the seasonality of some of these issues, we all just spent 2 years kind of locked in with each other. Did you see an impact because of COVID and all the fallout?
We sure did.
Yeah, I would bet.
I would say the first maybe 6 to 8 weeks, things went dead silent and really nothing. And then just the amount of phone calls we were getting that people were in like severe crisis was really alarming. And so what we've seen ever since then that hasn't really it's just now maybe starting to equal out is a big increase in calls for domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, elder abuse, and those cases are more severe right now. And that's what we're seeing is because people have been locked in a home together and they've lost their jobs.
More severe meaning more frequent, or just each
Both.
individual?
So more a higher frequency of cases, and those cases are more severe in the abuse that's happening, right? So it's people hit their limits, and it's nobody wants to think about this, but there's a lot of abusers out there that aren't really bad, horrible people, right? They don't know how to deal with stress.
Right.
They have very poor coping skills, and they blow.
Right.
Right. And so you may know them and work with them.
Right.
And but under that kind of stress, possibly losing job, social isolation, kids being homeschooled with you, so you're locked together all day long,
Right.
lack of resource in the community because toilet paper's gone or anything else is gone, you know what I mean? And it's just... It's just like a time bomb, and it just blows.
Yeah.
And then all that anger and aggression comes out.
Yeah. Were you able to adapt? Was there additional or specialized training to help specifically with this, or is it really? It seems like probably largely you and your group, your folks, could pull from your previous training and skills.
We do. We definitely pull from that. And training became much less accessible through that time, right?
Bingo,
so that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But definitely it took its toll on my employees too. I mean, we've had to really kind of slow down and take a look at bringing in some additional supports for my staff around secondary trauma or vicarious trauma. Just hearing the stories over and over, and then living your own stressful life with your own family being susceptible to COVID and everything that brought.
Right.
So it's been definitely an experience and a learning curve for all of us.
Yeah, the folks that you help were impacted, and the folks who were doing the helping were impacted,
Absolutely.
as were school teachers and all of us through this extraordinary time and event. Let's go ahead and take another break. I know that you've talked about your staff and skilled professionals and those kinds of folks, but I also know that groups like yours, typically volunteers, can be a very critical piece of what you do. So let's do that when we come back. And then we will obviously put out some information about how to reach out to the Yavapai Family Advocacy Center. Missy Sikora is our guest today. Countywide is back right after this.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Service for over 25 years and continues to serve the communities in northern Arizona. Jackson Hewitt is here to help you file your personal taxes. As laws and situations change, your local Jackson Hewitt Tax Service professional stays updated to serve you. Drop off or make an in-person appointment. In Flagstaff, call 213-8626. That's 213-8626. That's 213-8626.
The award-winning experts at Verde Solar Services offer the trusted carrier products that help you customize a solution to fit your budget. Verde Solar is a family-owned business serving the Verde Valley for 38 years with the carrier products you can rely on. Carrier AC systems are trusted to bring energy-efficient, quiet, consistent comfort. Call 928-567-5315 for a free assessment of your AC and air quality needs. Verde Solaire Services, online at verdesolaire.com, a factory authorized Carrier dealer.
Don't let concerns about today's events derail your long-term financial strategy. Hi, I'm Edward Jones Financial Advisor Matthias Sandoval, and I'm here to help. We can work together to understand the impact of these events and make sure your goals are top of mind. While you can't control the market volatility, we'll focus on what you can control. We can connect in several virtual ways. Start by giving me a call at 634-1044.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
And again, welcome back. Our final segment for today's show, Missy, Sikora, Yavapai Family Advocacy Center. I'm guessing an organization like yours that really covers all of Yavapai County is dependent upon and very appreciative of volunteers. If there's anyone listening today who might be interested in helping out, how can they do that? What should be the first step?
They can just go on our website, yfac.org. Or they can call our center, 928-775-0669. But yes, we love volunteers. I mean, volunteers do things like run our front desk, our reception desk sometimes. I only have somebody there paid 20 hours a week. We do all of the sexual assault exams for the county. So sometimes those are on children. Well, there needs to be meetings with parents and police and everybody before that child might get taken back. So our volunteers watch children for us. We have a large, beautiful playroom before and after their interviews or before and after their exams or while parents need to meet. And our volunteers, I have volunteers that help me do trainings in the community. I train at least 800 to 1,000 people a year on different subjects around mandated reporting or human trafficking. And so we have volunteers that do that or help us with special projects around the center, just anything. We've had volunteers that only want to work in our garden. We have a beautiful entry garden. And that's what they like to do. So we love volunteers. And
if you have an interest in the time and dedication and some kind of almost a lot of childcare skills, gardening skills, all these different kinds of things.
Anything, right? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Computer skills. I've had volunteers do some great countywide studies for me on trends in crime that I don't have the time to do myself, but they're so beneficial when I'm writing grants or speaking to people and trying to convey the impact that the center makes in the county and why it's so needed.
Wow. Okay, so anybody who has those kinds of things or perhaps is retired, say, from a vocation that might lend itself to that kind of work, I'm guessing, given the nature of what the center does, there may be like a background check or fingerprinting or things?
We do. We have them fill out a background form, but then we pay for them to get their level 1 fingerprint clearance card.
Okay.
So we schedule that for them. They go get the fingerprint card, and then we keep a copy on record.
And that's just part of how these things how these things work. Well, let's do this in our final couple of moments. If anyone is listening, particularly someone who may find themselves in crisis and has questions, if not needs a more kind of proactive help, how do they reach out? What is the best way to get a hold of you quickly? What is the best way to kind of find out more?
Right. They can call us at 928-775-0669. If it's during work hours, they'll speak to an advocate immediately. If it's after work hours and they leave a message, they can leave a detailed message that says, please do not call me before 9 a.m., right? Because you don't want to take that phone call maybe at certain times. Or they can go to yfac.org. There's a link on there where they can just send a message to us over the email and just don't have to give us details about what's going on, but just say, here's my name, here's my number. I would like some help. Please call me between these times, and we will make a call and talk to them.
Okay.
And get it started.
Simple as that. Well, it's fascinating. Again, we so appreciate what the Advocacy Center does, what you personally do, what those volunteers and paid associates do to make our communities safe for the people who need it the most, folks who find themselves in crisis. And it can be, there's so many cliches about this kind of behavior and these kinds of families and these kinds of folks, but it can be, and as you probably could attest personally, it is across a broad section of folks these days.
Yes.
Missy, Sikora, Yavapai Family Advocacy Center, and again, yfac.org. Just like that. We appreciate it. It's countywide, and we'll talk to you next time.
This has been Countywide. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday at this time. If you have a topic or guest idea that you'd like to suggest, email us, news@myradioplace.com.